Hey everyone, so today we're going to talk about the operating costs of a vehicle and what it actually costs you to maintain your vehicle and run it on top of your payments. So the purchase or lease of a vehicle only represents part of the cost of driving. When you're thinking about buying a car, you have to think about your day-to-day operation. And the costs vary depending on where you live, the type of vehicle you drive, and the distance you drive. And we're going to see that especially when we come to our fuel costs. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the fuel cost. The cost of fuel is how much you're actually going to use to drive and run the car. The amount of fuel a vehicle uses is often a factor of choice in the type of vehicle you purchase or lease. Typically, the bigger the vehicle, the higher the fuel cost will be because the fuel efficiency is a lot higher. In Canada, fuel consumption is expressed as liters per 100 kilometers in Canada. So it basically means that it's going to tell you how many liters it takes to actually drive 100 kilometers. In the US, it's a little bit different because it's expressed as miles per gallon. So it kind of looks at it different. It tells you how many miles you can go on a gallon. Whereas in Canada, it tells you how much you're going to use to go a set distance. And since we're in Canada, we're just going to deal with our liters per 100 kilometers in Canada. And we'll see that in the example. If you know approximately how far you will drive, and you know your fuel consumption rating and the approximate cost of fuel, like from a nearby gas station, you can estimate the total cost of fuel for your trip or for the year. So that's one of the things that we can look at. So let's look at the example. Oliver's car has a fuel consumption rating of 5.8 liters per 100 kilometers. Oliver estimates he's going to drive about 20,000, let's get our highlighter out, 20,000 kilometers per year. I'm also going to do the fuel consumption. And the average cost of fuel during the year is $1.06 per liter. We're going to estimate Oliver's fuel cost for the year. So this is done in two steps. So step one, I'm going to make it bigger. Step one, we're going to find out how much fuel. So in order to find out how much it's going to cost, we have to know exactly how much fuel Oliver is going to use. So that you can do by just taking the consumption rating and we're going to multiply by the distance driven. So in this case, Oliver drove 5.8 liters per 100 kilometers for his consumption rating, and he drove 20,000 kilometers. Okay, so when I calculate this, I just do 5.8 divided by 100 to do that part, and then multiply by 20,000. So 5.8 divided by 100 is, I'll write it down, 0.058 times 20,000. And we get that he used 1,160 liters of fuel because the kilometers are going to disappear. Okay, so that's step one, how much fuel, and we've answered that, 1,160 liters. So the second part is to figure out the cost. Now, all you're going to do to figure out the cost is the amount of fuel that he's used times the cost per liter. So he used 1,160 liters. And our approximate cost for the year was $1.06 per liter. So the liters are going to actually disappear. when we do the calculation, but all you're going to do is multiply it. And you get that he spent $1,229.60 approximately to drive that amount of distance at that approximate cost of fuel. Now, keep in mind that when we do this kind of calculation, it's not really super exact unless you're doing this for every little trip that you did and every time you fill up. This over the year cost is just an approximation, okay? All right. Moving on. One of the other things that you have to take into consideration is our maintenance costs. So if you think about maintaining your vehicle, vehicle manufacturers stress the importance of regular scheduled maintenance to keep your vehicle in good running order. That means getting your oil changes, having your tires rotated and brakes inspected, looking after your cooling system and transmission stuff. So what we're going to do is you kind of have to consider that in the cost of your vehicle, even though it doesn't happen on a daily basis as much as fuel does. It's a good thing to think about in terms of how much money should I save should I need to pay for the vehicle through the year. So I've got the maintenance schedule there. We're going to refer to that in our practice notes, so it's there for you to have. But I'm going to move to the second page because I'm going to show you how an example works. So on the second page, Velma purchases a new car. She will use the car to drive to work every day. And she estimates that she's going to drive 35 kilometers in the first year. We're going to use the maintenance schedule on the other page to figure out what are her maintenance costs for the first year, just the maintenance. So what I look at first is I kind of go through, I do a step-by-step process of this, and I start with the lube, oil, and filter. And we're going to calculate each one separately for the distance that she's driven, and then we'll add them all together. So one, she's got her lube, oil, and filter. And the one thing you're going to do is first figure out how many times does she actually have to go do this. So it's suggested in the maintenance schedule that she should do this every 5,000 kilometers. So the one thing I like to do is take our total distance driven and divide it by how often we're supposed to do it, which is every 5,000. And for this one, we get 7. So that means she should, in the course of the year, go for 7 lube, oil, filter services. And then what you're going to do is take that 7 times and multiply by the cost. And the approximate cost on our page there is $29.95. So 7 times $29.95 is $209.65 for our lube and oil. Let's do the second one. So I kind of like to go down the list and see how many of those I actually have to do. So this one's the tire rotation. And that's second. And it says that you should go for it every 10,000 kilometers. So again, 35,000 divided by 10,000 means she should do it 3.5 times. Now, in this case, because it's nice when you're approximating your cost to overestimate than it is to underestimate, I'm going to round it to 4 times. So I'm going to put it up to 4. So in this case, Velma will do approximately 4 of them. So we'll do 4 times, and the cost of that is $41.50. So we'll just multiply that. 4 times $41.50 is $166. The next one is the wheel alignment. You do that every 25,000. So So that's the wheel alignment. Same thing. Divided by 25,000. In this case, it's going to be close to 1.4. In this case, I'm just going to do it once because that seems pretty ideal. So we're going to do it one time. And it costs $69.75, which is just $69.75. Now, if you're looking at it, the cooling system, tune-up, and emission control, and the automatic transmission are all over the 1 year. You can take some of that cost into account. Like maybe you want to say that your cooling system, I'm going to save half of it for this year and half of it for next year because it seems like I'm going to do it once every 2 years. And just take the half cost of that if you want. And if you're really interested in making sure you're budgeting correctly. But since we didn't go over 35,000 and all the rest of them are over 35,000, I'm just going to not do those ones for now. It's really up to you because it's an approximation. So the last thing to do is just total up all the costs. So 209.65 plus our 166 plus 69.75. And when you add all of those up, sorry guys, 209.65 plus 166 plus 69.75, you get 445.40. So it gives you a good approximation of how much you're going to pay for the repairs and maintenance costs of your vehicle for the year. So you can kind of save it up as you go. Anyways, that's how it's done. I think there's enough there for you guys to actually figure it out when you do the practice questions. But go ahead with the practice and don't forget to do the quiz. Have a great day. Bye.